The guard paid for Koré to stay in a hotel in Bristol. Captain Fair decided the travel time would be too wasteful given the fact that Martel Valentine was living where Garden met Bristol, far north of Koré's home in Nova 1. Koré made sure Audra was fine before leaving and suggested that Audra use Koré's absence as an excuse to spend more time with Cindy. Knowing the two girls were keeping each other company while she did her training would help keep Koré's mind at ease. The hotel the guard set Koré up in was of a much higher quality than she was expecting. The guard often didn't spend a lot of money on anything, so the fact they went out of their way to make sure she was comfortable for her training made her feel a lot better about the situation. This meant they believed in her and her potential. Now it was up to Koré to not let them down. She arrived at the hotel the night before she was scheduled to meet Martel Valentine. Captain Fair would be setting up their first meeting and told Koré that Martel's training would often take a few days, hence the need for the hotel. Once morning came on the day they were set to meet, Koré took a quick shower and combed her hair while in a white robe provided by the hotel. She brought 2 duffel bags with her and multiple black suits to change into for the trip. She reached into one of the bags and removed a notebook. Koré was not your average student when she was in school. Among the elite at Nova High, where she and Audra attended, she would often make Audra jealous by the fact that she would hardly study and still pass every test with ease. On the more difficult assignments, Koré would often bury herself in books, absorbing as much information as she could find. She wanted to treat this learning process the same. She made sure she was prepared to learn as much as she could. After putting her suit on, Koré left the house and got into her car. The moment she turned it on, the dashboard lit up with a call from Captain Fair. She began driving as she answered it. "Hello, Captain," said Koré. "Everything set for today?" "That's why I wanted to call you as soon as I could." Koré could hear Captain Fair sighing on the other end. "Couldn't get in touch with Martel. You could still try going to his house, but he's not fond of people dropping by unannounced." "I'm here on business anyway. I might as well try my luck." Koré made a turn. The hotel Captain Fair gave her was not far from Martel's residence at all. She pulled onto his street and parked. "I'm already on the block thanks to the hotel arrangements he got me. Anything I should know?" "Make sure he thinks you're a friend. He may be retired, but I'm sure he still has some tricks up his sleeve," warned Captain Fair. "Call me if anything happens." "All right, try not to worry too much." Koré turned the car off and her call transferred to her phone. She stepped out of the car and brought the phone up to her ear. "I'm sure I could handle some old retired detective." Koré hung up before Captain Fair could say anything else. Martel's house was more modern than she expected. Despite being on the border of Meld Garden, none of the outside had any metal parts. Instead of being made of brick, majority of the house was made of wood. It looked like some of the beach houses Koré had seen in magazines, but had never seen up close before. Most large bodies of water on Novessa were managed by the Welton Company, and beaches were few and far between. There was a long wooden staircase leading up to the front door. Koré walked up and noticed a large window near the front door. She leaned over and peeked inside, but it was too dark to see anything. She walked up to the front door and knocked. She didn't hear anything happening inside, so after a few moments she knocked again. On the second knock, she still heard nothing. She put her ear against the door, and there was nothing but silence. "Mr. Valentine?" Koré said as loud as she could. She knew the man was older, so she thought he might be hard of hearing. She tried again. "Mr. Valentine, my name is Koré. I'm a member of the guard. I was told to come see you to receive some training." After a few more moments of silence, Koré tried a third knock, which gave similar results. She put her hand on the doorknob to test it and was surprised to feel that the door was open. She hesitated, wondering if this was a good idea, then turned the knob and opened the door. Inside was a dark hall, explaining the darkness when she looked inside the window. Not far from the front door was another door. This door was slightly cracked open, and there was light coming from the other side. Koré went through the door and startled someone not far from where she entered. The old man was under a large gray blanket that was draped over something that Koré couldn't see. She heard him hit his head on something under the blanket before he frantically grabbed a cane leaning against a desk to his left. I just got a notification on my computer that's probably coming out on the thing. Apologize. When she spun around, Koré's assumptions were proven correct. The man was hunched over. Actually, that should probably be... She heard him hit his head on something under the blanket before he frantically grabbed a cane leaning against the desk to his left. It should be when he spun around. When he spun around, Koré's assumptions were proven correct. The man was hunched over, seemingly having trouble standing despite the cane. His hair was brown with some gray peppered in. Koré noticed he was wearing sunglasses indoors. Yeah, I apologize for edits like that. I'm going to leave that in on the YouTube video because it's fine. It's just like a little thing. I'm not going to edit it out. But yeah, that's just to show you what happens when you write, edit, and record all within the same week. Okay, back to the story. Sorry about that. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to startle you, Koré said with her hands out in defense. I knocked 3 times and called out to you. Koré Avelkin. Martel's voice sounded hoarse, as if he hadn't spoken to anyone in a long time. You know my full name? You don't know, you know mine, don't you? Martel Valentine. Koré put her arms down now that Martel seemed okay with her presence. It's pronounced Valentine, actually. Martel chuckled a bit, but got cut off by a cough. Are you alright? Koré made her way into the room, just in case she needed to help support Martel. Help me to my chair, please. Martel put out his arm, and Koré helped him to a nearby chair. The chair was padded with extra cushion from Martel's back. Once seated, he put both hands on the top of his cane and sat forward. Thank you. So, Koré looked at the blanket. Are you going to tell me what's really going on here? What do you mean? Martel covered his mouth after speaking in anticipation of another cough, but this one didn't come out. You're not ancient like you're acting. What happened to you? I spent 4 years as a detective for the Guard, a job that takes its toll on you. The Guard are experts at keeping the most threatening things hidden from the average person. Martel adjusted his sunglasses. Those 4 years took a toll on me in ways I can't even begin to explain. Is that the role you're taking on for them? Koré was fascinated by whatever was hiding under the blanket and kept her gaze there until Martel asked the question. She turned her head slightly to look at him. You tell me, she said with a smile. You knew I was coming, but Captain Fair told me he didn't actually speak with you. He left a message, Martel said with a smile of his own. Said he wanted me to train the new detective. Not many freelance detectives running around crashing crime scenes on Novessa. Didn't have to be a legendary detective to figure that one out. Referring to yourself as legendary, I'm not sure this is going to work out. I may not look it, but I'm at least partly responsible for why you've lived most of your life without worrying about the true dangers of this planet. Now you're throwing away all my hard work by voluntarily throwing yourself in front of it. Martel's own words got him worked up, and he began coughing again. He put his hand up to prevent Koré from saying anything. I could train you for years, and you'll never be ready for what's coming. That's reassuring, and helping me realize I'm right about this being a waste of my time. Koré turned to head for the door. Wait, said Martel. I'll train you, but you need to understand that this is not going to be all fun and games. You won't be an expert by tomorrow. I understand. And you're not staying in some fancy hotel either, Martel scoffed. Koré reached for the key card given to her by the hotel. She had it in the pocket of her suit jacket when she left the hotel. Martel waved it around to show her as he checked her pocket. Martel waved it around to show her as she checked her pocket. When I helped you to the chair? You're too trusting. You just met me and I could have lured you over to me and attacked you when I asked you to help me to my chair. Despite his demonstration, Martel tried to stand again and had trouble, even with the cane helping him. I'm not as old as I look, but these injuries are real. However, never underestimate your opponent. If they don't look like a physical threat, they could easily be a mental one. Is that my first lesson? No, that was a freebie. Martel made his way to a door far from the blanket and across the room. He stopped in front of it. First lesson is in your room. This is where you'll be staying. You can go get your things from the hotel in the morning. Koré walked over and opened the door. The room was filled with bookshelves, some as large as the walls, some small. It was a mini library inside Martel's home. Where's the bed? Not all the shelves touch the wall. It's a bit of a maze in there. There is a bed, though. It's just in the back. Martel pointed into the room with his cane. Sorry for the inconvenience. I was excited to stay in the fancy hotel, I won't lie to you. Koré stepped into the room and was immediately hit by the feeling that she was inhaling a large amount of dust. She pulled her head back and tried to fight off a cough of her own. She simply cleared her throat instead. I can make this work. The way she said it made it sound like she was convincing herself more than Martel. Good. Martel grabbed the doorknob. Find the book labeled Phantoms of Meldgarden. Read it thoroughly. That's lesson 1. We'll work on some basic skills tomorrow. Can you handle that? Reading one of these old dusty books? I'm pretty sure I can handle it as long as I can find it. Koré ran her finger along one of the shelves and looked at the dust on her finger. When was the last time you cleaned this? When Koré turned around for an answer to her question, the door was closed. I didn't even hear him close it. Koré walked over to the door and tried to turn the knob, but it wouldn't budge. Great. Koré hit a light switch next to the door and it brightened up the entire room. Happy that at least the lights worked, Koré found herself with some renewed vigor. She would want a good night's rest for whatever Martel had planned for tomorrow, so she wanted to find the book as soon as she could. She checked the first dusty shelf in front of her, but knew that would be too easy. After she checked that, she made her way around the first bookshelf to find the next. Around the corner, she finally realized just how big this room was. She could see a gap in the books in front of her that showed another set of bookshelves behind it. The row of shelves she was on now went for the entire length of the room. She made her way through the next bookshelf, desperately trying to find a pattern to speed up the search. Alphabetical order may be separated by area or industry. She tried to piece things together but was falling short. The first set of shelves were just random books. Koré began speaking aloud. A second set had a lot of information about Nova 1. My guess is that Martel intended that to distract me, as I might find books about my home city more interesting than the others. Despite that, there were a few misleading titles in there. Koré walked around to the next set she saw through the gap. These books all had red spines, Koré noticed. Most of the writing on them was black, but some of them had hard-to-read colors. She wondered why a book company would do that. The hard-to-read spines made it harder for her to go through quick, but she managed to check each shelf thoroughly. After turning the next corner, the bookshelves became a bit more separate, and she could see the back of the room where her bed was. I hope that bed is clean. The idea of the bed being as dirty as the shelves made her shudder a bit before attacking the next bookshelf with her eyes. She scanned quickly, once again looking for a theme or common pattern, and then quickly reading each title with hopes of finding Phantoms of Meldgarden. She struck at it yet again on that shelf and made her way to the next. Her eyes began to bother her from the dust and from the fact she was hardly stopping to blink between each shelf as she read the titles. Koré took one of the books and put it sideways so she would remember where she was, and decided to sit down on her bed to take a quick breather. When she walked over to the bed, she saw a book laying on the sheets. She also noticed the bed was rather clean despite the rest of the room. As she approached the bed, she read the front of the book. The Phantom of Here, it had written on it. Here better not mean in the room I'm in. Koré grabbed the book quickly and opened to the first page. The Phantom of Here, formerly known as Phantoms of Meldgarden. Martel sent me to look for a book with a name change, but also left the book in the most obvious spot. Koré sat on her bed to start reading, but the wall next to the bed opened. The bed swung around and brought Koré into a secret room. This room was more like a normal bedroom and was clean, practically spotless in here. Koré stood up and noticed a desk nearby with a note on it. How long did it take? Said the note. There was another message beneath that. Phantoms of Meldgarden was changed due to the location of the Phantom. Supposedly somewhere between Fristol and Meldgarden. Sound familiar? Koré looked at the bottom of the note and saw an arrow indicating to flip it over. On the other side, the note said, "Easy first lesson. You don't have to read the book if you don't want to. See you in the morning." This part of the note Koré said out loud. Martel Valentine. It's pronounced Valentine. Koré put her hand to her head. What have I gotten myself into? Martel has way too much time on his hands. Koré sat down and opened the book. Way too early in the day to go to sleep. Might as well see what this is about.